These Yonex Aerus Z2s are still the lightest badminton shoes in the world. Welcome to the channel. My name is Howard and I'm an Olympic badminton player. Today we're gonna take a look at these super light Aerus Z2s and talk about the features and how they feel and compare to other models. Let's first cover a little bit about the history of Yonex's Aerus line. The first Yonex Aerus shoe came out back in 2016, followed by the Aerus 2 and then the Aerus 3. Then the Aerus Z first debuted in 2020, followed by these Aerus Z2s in late 2022. So that's why you might hear these referred to as the Aerus Z2s, because they're the second generation of the Z line, but technically the fifth model of the entire Aerus line. Now, just as in my other product reviews, I'm gonna cover first impressions of the shoe. Then I'll talk about the weight of these shoes, which is what really sets them apart from every other shoe. I'll give you guys my overall opinion on the shoes. And lastly, we'll look at the different color options and talk pricing. So let's get into it. The overall silhouette is still very similar to the previous generation. You have the sleek minimal design, and as you look closely at the shoe, you'll notice that it's actually mostly one piece. Yonex calls this the seamless upper, which is made up of a mixture of durable skin light and double Rochelle mesh. The combination of these two materials allows the shoe to be breathable, but also still really durable. On this material, we have this almost feathered pattern that to me kind of resembles a bird wing. We also have the Feather Light X material, which is Yonex's lightest midsole material that runs in all of this area here. The Feather Light X material is actually the main factor in what makes the shoes even lighter than the last generation Z1s, and I'll talk about that when we get to the weight section. On the tongue of the shoes, you'll see that there's the letter Z, which distinguishes these from the more budget-friendly X model. You'll also notice that you're getting the gold standard radial blade outsole. If you guys saw my review on the Comfort Z3s, that was the first shoe that I wore that had this new windmill-shaped pattern instead of the hexagons that were all on the previous models. Initially, I thought that they would only be replacing the highest end shoes with the radial blade pattern, but it looks like Yonex might only be keeping the hexagon pattern on the budget-friendly X models. I've noticed that the radial blade outsole is even making its way over to some of the mid-tier models like the Cascade series, as well as the Power Cushion Strider Flow. Now, there are features from the previous model that they have brought over to this model, like the rounded sole in the back of the heel area. You can also see the 3D power graphite sheet through the bottom of the shoe, as well as the side slit here. And similar to the previous model, you're gonna get the Power Cushion Plus. Now let's talk about what makes these shoes so special. When Yonex first released the Aerus, it was groundbreaking because it became the world's lightest badminton shoe. They've continued pushing the boundaries of these feather light shoes while improving each rendition with more cushion and more support, while reducing the weight with the new materials like the Feather Light X that we saw earlier. These are a size 9.5 or 27.5 centimeters and weigh about 250 grams per shoe. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Even the previous model was coming in at about 275 grams per shoe in size 9.5, which is what I wear, and that's still well below 300 grams. To put into perspective how light these really are, I'm gonna show you how they compare in weight to some of the other flagship models. The ever-popular 65 Z3s weigh about 330 grams, and the Power Cushion Z3s that I currently wear are about 350 grams per shoe. That's 100 grams lighter and almost 30% or 1/3 lighter than almost all of the other Yonex models that we've looked at. Now, I can't emphasize how unique of a shoe these are. I mean, the first time that you hold these and compare them to any other shoe, you will be blown away by how light they are. And with that being said, it obviously makes for a much different feeling on feet as well. I don't think that any of the other Yonex shoes come close to feeling like these at all, just because they're so light. Overall, Yonex has done an amazing job refreshing this shoe from the previous version. I remember when the first Aerus came out in 2016, it was cutting edge, but I felt like the shoe just sacrificed too much cushioning and too much support in order to be as lightweight as possible. I would even get blisters because the sidewalls were so thin and would rub on the side of my toes. With these, as soon as I tried them on, I could tell the difference from the Z1s already. The areas that I feel the biggest improvement is around the heel and the ankle area, where you can see it visibly appears thicker than the previous Z1s. Two minor details that I noticed these shoes were missing is the heel pull tab, which actually is only on the Infinities and the 88 dial V1s. And the other minor detail that's missing is that on almost every other shoe, there's these two lace holes at the top called eyelets. The Aeruses only have one top lace hole. To me, this doesn't really matter, but the extra lace hole is used by some people to lock their ankle and foot even tighter into the shoes. As far as feeling, the main thing that I noticed with all the Aerus shoes is that you feel much closer to the ground because the midsole is thinner than other models. I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, but it does take a little bit of getting used to. Another thing to keep in mind is that because these are just overall thinner shoes with less material, they may not be as durable as some of the other heavier shoes like the Eclipsions or the Comfort Z3s. You can tell in specific areas such as the tongue, where it's just much thinner than the Eclipsion Zs, for example. I'm not too heavy-footed, so these shoes do work for me, but if you're on the heavier end, then I might recommend one of the sturdier, more supported models like the Eclipsions or Comfort Zs. But if you're already wearing the previous Aerus models and you like those, then you're definitely gonna love these as an upgrade. If you've never tried these Aerus models before and your main interest is to look for an extremely light badminton shoe, then these are also a great choice. I will say these shoes are on the narrow side, so if you do have wide feet, make sure you do check out the wide versions of these instead. There are now a total of 6 colors available for the standard fit, 3 colors for the men's and 3 for the women's, and an additional 2 colorways available for the extra wide fit. Starting with the men's, you have the more neutral colored pair like these, which are kind of like a white fading into a bluish gray. Then you have 2 more colorful options. One is kind of like an orange fading into a red, and the other is like a turquoise fading into a royal blue with lime green accents. For the women's, you have a coral orange blended with white, a mint green with some white, and lastly, a purple with some black and pink detailing and white midsoles. For the 2 extra colorways on the wide versions, you have one that is very similar to this gray one that's a standard fit, but isn't as dark in the back heel area, and also a bright lime yellow pair that fades into like a white. The suggested retail price on these is about $150 US. These are definitely one of the high-end shoes, being in the higher price range as well. But if you wanted to opt for a more budget-friendly model, Yonex does have a version of these called the Aerus X, which is very, very similar with some minor differences, giving it the lower price point. That's all that I have for you guys on these Aerus Zs. If you found this review helpful, please make sure you hit that thumbs up for me. Subscribe to the channel. I'm slowly getting through reviewing all of Yonex's entire lineup of shoes, so there's gonna be more to come, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.